Hey guys, can you hear my voice? Okay, Wang. Hello. Okay, good.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, hi, Daniel. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So I'll leave my microphone on mute just for now.
Yeah. So I'm just
Okay,
give them a few more minutes. Sorry, 2 minutes to let everyone in before we start.
perfect, perfect. Okay, no problems.
Hi, partners. Just give us 1 more minute. Hopefully, we get more people to join in before we start the session. Let me know if y'all can hear my voice. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are 2 minutes into the hour, and I have almost 200 people joining the session today. Really thank you all for dedicating your time to join the sessions. Fantastic. Okay, let me go ahead and kickstart. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Alex, and I'm the director for partner pre-sales in UiPath. So we have lined up a really fantastic 5 weeks of program for all of you, and today is our first session on the UiPath document understanding. So this session is going to be 1.5 hours long, and we have fantastic list of panel and trainers with us today to help run this session through. So y'all have believe received the invitation for all the other sessions as well. Feel free to attend those as well. So you'll find that for today we have 1.5 hours, but for the rest of the 4 weeks we actually have up to 2 hours. And the approach that we intend to take is that we're gonna leave from second session onwards another half an hour there, so that we can entertain any outstanding questions you have from the previous week. Okay, and also just a quick housekeeping notes on this before we start. Okay, anyway, the trainers that we have, Michael Curie and Smith Rator, and on our panelists we have Kam Yong, Daniel, and Mohit to also help with any questions that you have. Yeah, so quick housekeeping notes. You all should be able to find the Q&A box down there. So please enter any questions you have as the presenters are presenting along the way. We will try to answer them, or we'll try to dedicate some time to revisit those questions that you have. Yeah, this webinar is recorded, and we will share with you together with some homework exercise that we intend to leave behind, so they can practice that, and you can actually come back the following week if you have any questions regarding those exercises. Okay, so with that, I will hand over to Mike to lead our session today.
Thanks, Alex. Let me just share my screen. Alex, can you see the first slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thanks, Alex. So good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's Michael Kure here from UiPath. I work in the pre-sales team in Australia, but my focus is really on partner enablement. So I'll be one of the presenters today, and as Alex mentioned, we've got a lineup of panelists to help answer any questions that you may have. So today's session is really a webinar on the new document understanding capability. I'll go through the agenda, but we really wanted to trial, I guess, a new kind of format for training. So we didn't want to deliver the standard, this is the product and this is a demo. We wanted to go a bit more deeper dive for our partners, so you get a better understanding, better knowledge, and so you're more credible and knowledgeable in front of the customer, and hopefully provide all the information or as much information possible. So when customers ask you questions, you're able to answer it on the spot as opposed to getting back to UiPath. So it's a bit of a different agenda from the standard webinars that we've delivered in the past. So we'll first run through what is document understanding. We'll go through a high-level architecture and what are the infrastructure requirements when we look at on-prem version. We'll then go a bit deeper dive into the different document understanding UI tools and activities. So the roles within a partner organization. We're then going to run 2 demonstrations of the document understanding capability set. One is based on machine learning extractor, and another one is based on what we call intelligent form extractor, and we'll go into that in more detail. We'll then discuss the pricing model, and we'll look at a few different scenarios where a customer may need to process documents, and how you would size that solution in terms of the document understanding components. We'll review our key differentiators where we see our product versus similar products in the market. And then we'll go through some FAQs and highlight some resources where you can get more information. Alex mentioned homework. So initially this training was designed for like a classroom, and we wanted it to be interactive and hands-on, but we've kind of deferred that section to the end. So we'll provide you with like step-by-step instructions on how to create your own document understanding demo, which will further enhance your learning. So what is document understanding? So document understanding is an exciting new end-to-end offering that gives UiPath robots the ability to extract information and meaning from documents. The document understanding product also gives customers the ability to apply both rules and model-based approaches to extract information from structured, semi-structured, and unstructured documents. So what are the business problems we're trying to solve? Well, when we think about document processing, there usually requires a lot of time to manually extract, interpret, and act upon the data from potentially hundreds or thousands of documents. This can take a great deal of employee time in the case of repetitive forms and documents using structured templates. Despite plenty of solutions offered today already, it's not easy to find a vendor who will meet all customer needs in document processing. The other challenges with respect to document processing are there's a large variety of documents. The volume and graphical quality of the documents can impact the time needed for an employee to extract and interpret the information. There's risk of human error, which can cause rework and losses for the company. Time and costs invested in repetitive tasks can affect employee productivity. And the last challenge is there are a lack of end-to-end complex solutions like document understanding with retraining capabilities. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So before we move any further, we just wanted to set a baseline in terms of some of the terminology that we'll be talking about throughout the webinar. So let's take a closer look at the 3 different document types. So on the left, we have structured documents. So the format of the structured document is very static, and the fields and values are located in known positions. So extracting data from structured documents require a template-based approach. And examples of structured documents are, forms, tax forms, claim forms, loan application forms, and ID cards, passports and driver's licenses, etc. Next, we have semi-structured documents. So this type of document contains all the required information, but the format and the location of the field values are rarely in the exact same position. Therefore, this has a high degree of variance of the same document type from different sources. And the other aspect is extracting data from this type of document requires a machine learning model, templateless approach. And the model-based approach with retraining, so if you now incorporate retraining capability into that model-based, that machine learning model, this allows you to achieve a high performance and improved accuracy over time. Some examples for semi-structured documents are invoices, purchase orders, receipts, utility bills. And lastly, we have unstructured documents. So these are documents that have no fixed format. It's usually free text like emails, contracts, complaint letters, and we usually use natural language understanding technology to extract information from unstructured documents. Hopefully everyone understands those key concepts. Just moving on to the next slide now. So this diagram illustrates the structure of the document understanding product set and how it fits into the rest of the UiPath platform. At the bottom, you'll have all the capabilities that UiPath can provide for you. So you would be very familiar with the Orchestrator's Robot Studio. You would have heard of AI Fabric, which was launched late last year, as well as Action Center, which is really our task management and long-running workflows capabilities. Document understanding is on the top, and it adds additional capabilities to enhance the document processing ability that can be achieved using UiPath robots. So document understanding has deep integration with the core UiPath product sets. So you now have everything you need for an entire document processing solution. Document understanding supports attended and unattended scenarios. It's deeply integrated with the rest of the platform, so you can build off existing and upcoming capabilities across, say, OCR technologies, AI Fabric, and task management. The document understanding product itself, so we look at the top now, actually consists of multiple components. So there's a best practice development framework called the Document Understanding RPA framework, which really pertains of activity packages. We also have a set of UI tools and wizards to simplify configuration of document workflows. And we also have the AI capabilities. So those three boxes at the top really encompass the capabilities of document understanding. And as we go through it, you'll see that we're providing a very flexible framework that allows UiPath to provide all document processing capabilities or just a subset of capabilities that can be used to fill a gap that the customer might have. If we take a closer look at this document understanding framework, and we'll go deeper into it as we move through the webinar. Essentially, there's a pre-processing stage, which is really the ability for the robots to get access to the documents in question. We have a digitization stage, which is extracting the text and the document object model from the document. We've got the ability to classify the document, extract the key fields from the document, validate the document depending on confidence levels. And lastly, we want to take all those extracted fields and then use them to continue the business process. So the next slide is titled Document Understanding High-Level Architecture. So here we have a high-level view of the document understanding components, and we will go deeper into each component later in this webinar. On the left, we have components that reside within the studio and the robot. Now, there are two packages that contain activities relating to document understanding, Intelligent OCR and Document Understanding. Intelligent OCR has been available since mid-2018, but it has evolved significantly over the past year and will be continuously adding to this capability as well. So the main activities in this particular package are the low taxonomy, digitized document, classified document, and data extraction. You may have used this in your past automations. And we also have what we call UI tools when we load this intelligent OCR package. So we have taxonomy manager, template manager, and validation station. We'll talk about this in a bit more detail. The other package, which is new for document understanding, is a package called document understanding. And this really makes available what we call an ML extractor component, which is then used as part of our data extraction activity. Then we have the OCR engines, which I think you should all be familiar with. The main ones, the likes of Microsoft, Google, OmniPage, and Abby. There's cloud versions of those as well, and we also support a few other different OCR technologies. If we then take a look now on the right side, the completely new components are shown in that diagram on the right-hand side. So we have what we call document understanding endpoints. And there's really two main components of these endpoints. One is the machine learning models. So initially we'll have machine learning models for invoices, receipts, POs, and utility bills. And we'll be releasing more models in the future. One of them is email classification. The other feature of the document understanding endpoint is the form extraction capabilities. So we've got two form extractions. One, a generic form extractor for standard structured documents. And we have an intelligent form extractor, which has the capability to extract signatures and handwriting from documents. What you'll see is that the document understanding endpoint currently will be a hosted solution. So it'll be a UiPath hosted solution on Azure. But soon after the general release of document understanding, there'll be an on-prem version as well. Just moving on to the next slide. We just want to go through a typical use case so you can understand how the different components all fit together. So there's been a lot of interest in document understanding within the banking, mortgage, and insurance industries. So we want to have a look at one of the mortgage examples, which is called a mortgage packet audit post-closing. So step one is really receiving the mortgage packet, which is really a collection of pages and forms, and scanning all those pages. So that requires some document scanning technology in step one. Step two is where we start introducing UiPath, so we can get the UiPath robot to monitor a folder or an inbox to kickstart a document process. Step three is really all about the pre-processing. So we could be splitting, say, a 100-page document into possibly 30 different sub-documents. And one of the things we hear is parallelization, which allows us to parallel multiple pages at the same time, and you can get huge performance benefits by doing this. Step four is really the ability for document understanding to extract the key loan information using either template-based or templateless approaches. Step five, so this is pertaining to a mortgage use case where signatures on forms are quite common, and in some cases, multiple signatures on forms are needed. So the ability to detect the presence of a signature in a document is important for this particular workflow. Step six, we want to use RPA, again, in an unattended format. So the previous steps allowed us to collect all the documents and all the key fields. So now we can do some correlation, so we can actually validate that the data we've extracted from all the documents is correct by comparing it between different documents. We can also do some kind of checking by comparing the data we've extracted to IT systems. And at this point, we can flag any exceptions or missing information in that process. Step 7 is, if there are exceptions, we can send it to humans to review by means of validation station, attended robots, and task management items. And step 8 is really, we've managed to process the document as accurately as possible. We're now able to send all that information or all the fields we've extracted into our business application and continue the process further. Just one slide on on-prem infrastructure. So I did mention earlier that document understanding endpoints will be hosted by UiPath in Azure. But soon afterwards, we will be allowing customers to install this software on their own on-prem infrastructure. So we've had customers or partners come to us saying, their end customers don't feel, are not ready to send their documents into the cloud. They prefer an on-prem solution. So what I wanted to do in this slide was just highlight that that will be supported very soon. And if you do want to go down that path, you will need a couple of servers. So you'll need one server to train the model, and then you'll need another server, or one or possibly two servers to serve the model. And it just depends on the architecture that the customer wants to go down. But you can have an OCR and machine learning model on the one server, or you can split it up into two separate servers. In terms of operating system, it's really, the Linux-based operating systems, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and CentOS. I might do a pause now just to see if there are any questions that we wanted to answer at this point in time on any of the topics that we covered before. Are there any questions or?
Yeah, so Michael, there are a few questions, and with the help of panelists, we are trying to answer those. However, there is this one question from Scott, and it says, is the UiPath hosting based in AU Azure or US and Europe only? So
okay, yeah, so I can answer that one. So currently it's Europe only, and based on demand for having like local presence, say for example, Australia or other APAC countries, we can look at doing that as well. But currently it's just Europe, Azure.
Yeah, so if there are other questions that panelists you want to elaborate a little bit more, you can also do that.
Otherwise I can move on if there's. Shall I move on, Alex? Or?
yeah, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Move on,
okay.
please.
All right. So, so that was a little bit of a background on the architecture of document understanding. What we wanted to do next was go a bit more deep dive into the document understanding UI tools. And a couple of these tools were already available, but we wanted to review them for anyone who's new, or maybe reiterate some of the understandings that you already had. So the first one is.
There are actually a few more questions coming. You want to try to address them first?
Yeah, sure. So I'll read out, Michael. The first question is, are ML models available for testing and POC purpose in community cloud environment?
Yes, so the community, if you log on to your community account, there will be a section for, I think it's under other services, for an AI Fabric. We'll get into it later, an AI Fabric API key, and that will allow you to use that for testing purposes.
Okay, thanks, Michael. And the second question is from anonymous attendee, and it says, when is the on-prem document understanding will be available?
So I might defer to Mohit or Daniel if they know anything else, but I knew it was around April, so it could be end of April, but I don't have a firm date.
Yeah, Michael, I think it's 27th of April as of now. That's the target, but I'm also not really sure of exact date as of now, because there were some, because of the situation with COVID, so there were some delays in that.
Delays, yeah. Okay, so maybe early May could be a safe kind of time frame.
Sure. And Michael, the third question is, can the on-prem infrastructure be on Windows Server?
Yeah, so I think that's,
Um,
I think
so,
they're talking about like a Docker container. Is that?
Yeah, yes. So not at the moment, Hugh.
Yep.
And whenever we get to the details of on-prem infrastructure, because right now it's not going to be released just yet. So whenever we release that, we will release those details as well. Yep. So Michael, you just move on to the next topic, and we will continue to answer them via text. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amit. And thanks, Mohit. Yeah, we want to take a review of Taxonomy Manager. So this was released early 2019, and it provides an easy UI way to help you build custom taxonomy files, which can then be reused across processes. So if you're familiar with it, you actually need to load the Intelligent OCR activity package, click install, and that will give you access to Taxonomy Manager. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to create and define different document types, and then different groups within that document type. And then there's another sub-level under that as well. So you can create a nice group of categories of different documents, and then you can define each document, for each document, what field is applicable to that particular document. And in terms of the types of fields that you can add, it's really, actually I'll go to the next slides. Sorry, this is another, like a deeper look at the taxonomy manager. So it allows you to create the document type, the group, the categories, and then you can create new fields for each document type. And the field types can be, an address, a date, a Boolean, a table, a name, or a text. So it's very simple and easy to use. If you've used it before, it doesn't require much learning to get it up and running, or to define your taxonomy.json file. We'll look next at Template Builder, because this is quite important for the new set of capabilities that's being rolled out. So Template Builder is also a UI tool and part of the Intelligent OCR package. The Template Builder allows you to load a known form and then associate it with a document from the taxonomy file, which we looked at earlier. Then for each field within that document type, you can locate the area you want the document endpoint to look for in order to extract the value for that field. So one thing to note is that the Template Builder is slightly different for forms and what we call intelligent forms. It looks very similar. The main difference is with intelligent forms, you have the ability to assign fields for signatures and handwriting extraction. One thing which I learned yesterday, and I might get one of my colleagues to elaborate a bit more as well on this, is that, and you may have seen this in the past, is when you want to define the first page of a document, you typically select 5 keywords to identify that the first page of that document. Now, in the past, I've always been selecting, the top, 5 words from the top line or very close to the top. But yeah, we were advised to actually select, keywords from the top of the page, the middle of the page, and the bottom of the page. And the reason this is that we want to get a good understanding of the layout of the page, because there will be skews or spread in the way multiple documents of the same form are received. And if the keywords are dispersed throughout the document, it'll allow us to compensate for those differences and hence increase the accuracy of extraction.
Yeah, Michael, do you want me to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes. Thank you, Daniel. That would be good.
Okay, no problems. Okay, I was talking to our core product team in Seattle, and what they explained to me is that on the underlying text structure of the image, if you spread your markers, like your page markers, using like components, anchors in the top, in the middle, and in the bottom of the page, behind the scenes, when our algorithms are working, we can actually detect when if documents that have been scanned, if they actually have a small degree of variation, like let's say if a field moves up or down by a certain percentage, our engine can still capture information from those fields within a certain threshold. But in order for that to work reliably, you need to make sure that when you pick your 5 fields for the page marking, you spread them out evenly throughout the page. It's for us to be able to cater for slight differences in the sizes of the documents. Okay, Michael, back to you.
Yep. Thanks, Daniel. That's a good piece of information. So that was Template Builder. The last UI tool, which I think you may already be quite familiar with, is Validation Station. So this was first introduced way back in 2018, and then it was enhanced last year as well. But it remains a key part of the document understanding solution and offers attended users the ability to make real-time changes or updates on documents for the purpose of classification and human data validation and extraction. So we covered document understanding UI tools. I'm now going to go into the document understanding activities in a bit more detail. So this slide shows the digitized document activity. So this is a key activity that needs to be executed as part of the document understanding processing workflow. It essentially takes, and I'll probably put in my laser pointer. So it essentially takes in a document, passes through the activity, and it returns a text document and a document object model, which contains the structure and content information of the text within a document. Now, this is important because the returned, full text and document object model is used by activities further down the line when we go through our document understanding process. We also require an OCR engine for this to do the full text extraction. The other thing I wanted to highlight here was, which I mentioned earlier, was we have this degree of parallelism, which allows us to parallel multiple pages at the same time within the one document. So digitized document is a very key activity. You probably would have used it in the past, but it's definitely important now moving forward with document understanding. So after digitizing the document, we need to classify it and find out what type of document it is. So we need to use the classified document scope, which is shown here. With this activity, we take as inputs the taxonomy file, so the taxonomy.json file that was created using the taxonomy manager. We need to ingest the document, the full text output from digitized document, as well as the DOM. The other thing that we need to input into this activity is a keyword file. So the keyword file contains keywords that allow us to classify a document. The actual output is the document type. So once we have all these inputs, this activity will output the actual document type. So it's quite straightforward. We also have a train classifier scope, again, only supporting the keyword classifier at the moment. And this activity will be used at the end of a workflow. So after validation station has been completed by a human, it spits out some information pertaining to whether documents need to be updated, really some keywords. And what this train classifier scope does is it takes in, again, the document, the DOM, the text, it takes in that keyword, it takes in that input from validation station, and what it'll do is it'll update the file, update that keyword.json file. So this is currently the only trainer classification activity we have, but we will be introducing more in the future. All right, so now we've digitized the document and classified it. The next step is to extract key fields from the document. So we need to apply an extractor activity. So this is where document understanding really shines, because we have a really, really flexible method of extracting fields from our documents. So we got 4 methods which are highlighted across the top. We can use regex. We can use what we call form extractor. We used to call it position-based extractor in our previous preview versions. We have intelligent form extractor, and then we have the machine learning extractor. So these 3 extractors on the right are really quite new. Regex, Regex in itself has been around for a while, and we can use that, as part of our workflow. Form extractor would used for structured documents, so for fixed forms, table checkboxes. Intelligent forms, as I mentioned before, if we now want to extract handwritten fields or signature fields, then we would use intelligent form extractor. And the machine learning extract is really when we have the semi-structured document use case. So now let's deep dive into each of these extractors one by one. So the regex-based extract activity has been around since August 2019, and we can really take the DOM, the text, the document, the classification, and apply a regular expression in order to extract specific fields from the document. So if you are familiar with it, it can be a little bit tricky, but you can get some level of success by using pattern matching and looking for certain keywords within a document to extract certain field values out of that document. One thing to notice is, one thing to notice that this is a free activity. And as mentioned, you may be able to get some level of success out of this, but if not, don't worry, we have other extractors as well. Here's just a quick example of using the regex base extractor. I won't go into it in too much detail, but basically you have your fields from your taxonomy manager. You can write an expression on how to extract those specific fields, and you got some extra options as well. So that's regex-based extractors. So let's move on to some of the new extractors. So let's look at forms extractor. So this extractor is used to extract fields from structured documents. So documents with known fields in known positions. As input, here again, we have our document, the DOM, the text, the classification, and taxonomy. However, now we have a couple of new fields that we need to enter into this specific activity. I talked about one of the UI, document understanding UI tools, template manager. So we need to create a template for a specific document, and then we have our template. So that template is one of the inputs for form extractor. The other thing that we require is an API key. So we actually need to enter in the document understanding endpoint and the API key in order to get use out of this, this particular activity. The output is really the extracted fields, based on this template manager. One of the good news is with document understanding is it's very flexible. And what we've done is we've made what we call our page consumption to be 0.2 of a page when you're extracting fields from the form extractor using the specific form extractor activity. So it doesn't consume 1 page, it consumes 0.2 of a page if you're using this particular form extractor. We'll go into some different use cases and scenarios on how to size up a solution as well. So hopefully it will become a bit more understandable after that. So if I take a look at an example, this is a quick example where I've used the template manager to define my template. So from taxonomy, I've got all my fields, and then I want to specify in the template manager where I want to extract those fields. If I now have a form with that say, a typed in digital print on that particular form, I can use Form Extractor to extract that data. So here I have an example where I'm extracting, specific fields from a form, and I'm putting it into an Excel spreadsheet, which could then be used further down the track in my process. So that was Form Extractor. The other really cool new feature we have is the Intelligent Form Extractor. So this is also part of the Document Understanding set of capabilities, and it expands upon Form Extractor to also include signature detection and handwriting detection. So it really uses the same kind of inputs as we've seen in the past. The main difference is, instead of feeding in a standard template, we now feed in an intelligent template. And the intelligent template, when we build it, we actually need to pick and choose which fields we want to use for signature and which fields we want to use for handwritten extraction. So that's the only difference. So with intelligent forms, we can now get a full set of extracted fields from the form, whether it contains typed in text, handwritten text, or signatures. So now we get all our extracted fields, and this will actually use, because of the advanced functionality, it will consume 1 page when running this activity. The last extractor we want to take a look at is the machine learning extractor. So this is the other new addition to the set of DU set of capabilities. As mentioned before, this is actually part of the document understanding package, as opposed to the intelligent OCR package. And this is completely templateless. So you'll notice, in terms of the inputs, I'll have the document, the DOM, the taxonomy manager, taxonomy file, and the classification. But I don't need to input any kind of template. It's a really true AI machine learning technology used to extract the information. We do need to put in an endpoint and an API key. And this particular activity or machine learning extractor will return the fields. I've got a slide on the next page to state which fields will return. And this will also use 1 page of consumption, similar to the intelligent form extractor. You can configure multiple extractors within the same data extraction scope, and you can basically associate which extractor you want to use for which document type. So here I've got a PO machine learning extractor used for my purchase orders. I've got another receipts machine learning extractor used for receipts, and one for invoices as well. So with the machine learning models, we're sending in invoices and receipts, and these are the fields that we're returning from that machine learning model are needed for invoice processing and receipt processing. So I won't go into it in any detail, but you can see for yourselves there's quite a good set of fields that are returned. So one more slide I snuck in yesterday, and it's based, you may have seen some communication over the weekend. So in our preview set of capabilities for intelligent OCR, we've actually added 2 new activities, one called Create Document Validation Action Activity, and one is Wait for Document Validation Action and Resume Activity. So these activities provide the ability for Validation Station to be launched from the task section of Orchestrator, as opposed to it being launched from an attended robot. So these are still in preview mode, but yeah, you can definitely use it as part of your demo workflow. I'll probably take a pause there again before we jump into the demonstration.
So, Michael, at the moment we've been trying to answer all the questions via text. Okay. So, how about you go on and do the do the demo, and we will continue to answer something. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll run through a quick demo of machine learning, and then Mohit will take over and run through the intelligent form extractor. So just give me 1 second while I change my screen. Alex or Smith, can you just validate that you can see my studio?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. So I wanted to run through the workflow that we want to get you to build actually at the end of this session. So it's quite a simple workflow to take some documents and process it using the machine learning extractor. So a couple of things I'll highlight are the dependencies. So I've added my document understanding, ML activities, and intelligent OCR activities. I'm also going to be using OmniPage OCR for this particular workflow. So those are the three packages I needed to add to my default workflow. The other things I'll highlight are in my document process, I've created a document processing folder. In here, I have my taxonomy.json file, and I've got a keyword classifier subfolder with a keyword learning.json file. So we'll actually send these files to you as part of like a little pack for you to kickstart your document understanding demo project. And I've just got two, so I'm just going to do a very simple example of processing two invoices. One is will extract the information quite well, and one will have a few low confidence values. In terms of the actual process itself, it's actually very simple. So I've got my load taxonomy. So I'm loading my taxonomy.json file. I'm getting files from my documents directory. And then for each file, I'm going into an process one document sequence. If I then look at my process one document sequence, it will show all the activities I mentioned earlier in the webinar. So I've got my digitized document, which takes in the document and returns the DOM and the text. I've got my classified document scope. So this is really that keyword-based classifier that we're using, which takes in some keywords used to define how to identify a document type. So I've got my keywords here, and it will return a classification result. So now I've digitized it, I've classified it. The next step is really, I've got a flow decision here where I say, if the document can be classified, I want to extract the data from it. And if it can't, I want to go straight to validation station. So if it can be classified, and because the document type is invoices, which are semi-structured documents, I want to use my machine learning extractors to extract the information from it. So here I've got my data extraction scope. I've got my result from the classification. I've got my DOM document text and my taxonomy file. I want to apply it to these extractors. The way I've configured my extractors, and I showed a screenshot of this before, is I want the invoice ML extractor to extract the invoices, the receipts to do the receipts, and the POs to do the POs. Later on, we'll take a look at a slide where you can have multiple extractors for the same document type, and it basically moves left to right, where if the left extractor doesn't have a high confidence, it'll move on to the next extractor to the right, but I'll explain that in a bit more detail later on. So in my workflow, I'm gonna throw the document to my endpoint, and I want to return some results which will contain the extracted fields of the invoice. I'm then actually putting it into a validation station. So even though the confidence could be high, I want all documents, whether unclassified or classified, to be passed to validation station. I then have an activity to train my keyword classifier. So if I get some feedback from validation station with more information on how to classify a document, I can train that, that keyword file using this particular activity. And then last of all, we want to export the extracted results. So I'm going to click run. So hopefully you see at the bottom right-hand corner, we've got callouts. So I've extracted the documents, I've collected the documents, I'm now digitizing the documents. So this is what usually takes a couple of seconds and probably takes the longest part of the process. I'm now classifying the documents. You can see it popped up with invoices. I'm extracting the data now. So this is where I'm sending the document to my document understanding.
Sorry, Mike. I think you are showing your presentation slide.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Data extraction. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Did you see the callouts though? Did that pop up?
Yes, callouts were there.
Oh, okay, good. So hopefully you saw the callouts so you could see what the automation was doing. So I've got two invoices that I kind of wanted to show. One was extracting all the information very accurately. So you can see here it's extracted the document type. It's identified it as an invoice based on the keywords invoice to.
Mike, there's a request if you can replay it.
Oh, okay, yep. Give me a second. All right, I'll stop it and start it again. Okay, so I'll run it again. So I'll click run, which was going to run that workflow, which I explained before, of taking documents, doing the digitization, classification, extraction. So I'm going to hit run now, and just keep your eye on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen because I've put callouts so you know what the robot is doing. So starting the automation, I've extracted 2 files. That's my pre-processing. I'm now doing the digitizing the document. So this is using the OmniPage OCR engine. So I'm going to get my text and my DOM after digitizing the document. So this, sorry, I'll quickly go through this. So classifying the document, extracting the data, and now I'll go to validation station. Sorry, was that a comment?
No, that was me, Daniel. I was just gonna say that I can see your Zoom invite on the screen, but that's nothing.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yep. So, okay. So now I'm presented with validation station. We can see that the document was classified correctly based on the words invoice to. If I quickly flick through some of the key extractions, and you can see from the right-hand side, the quality of the page is not that great, but still using the machine learning model, even though the quality is low, it's able to extract information quite accurately. So I've got the date quite accurately. Here I've got the name, the invoice number. So it's got a few zeros in it, but it's identified it as 0 as opposed to the letter O. The billing address looks to be pretty good. So this particular invoice, using the machine learning extractor, has been able to produce quite good results. It's picked up the currency based on Malaysia. The tax amount is correct. If I just click on that one, yep, the tax amount is correct. The total is correct. So those are the key fields. So in this particular instance, the machine learning extractor has done pretty well. I'm just going to continue So if you look on the bottom right-hand corner again, I'm going through the same process again of digitizing the document, classifying it, and then it'll bring up, then it'll extract the data again, and then it'll bring up validation station again. So it's detected it as invoices, extracting data. So I showed this example just so you can see when it hasn't been able to extract all the information correctly, we can use validation station 2 to correct that information. So now,
Michael, just a request.
Yep.
When you run the next demo, just minimize the Zoom screen, and if you can just open the UiPath Studio output, that way. Yeah, there's just a request.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll probably get Mohit to do it when he does his one because I'm nearly done. But yeah, sorry, thanks for that feedback. So very quickly, it's correctly identified the document as invoice based on the tax invoice words. The date here, if you click on date, it hasn't picked up the actual date. But what we can do is we can actually correct that quite easily. And now we've got the correct date. If I go to invoice number, that's been picked up correctly. The PO number is correct. The address is correct. So apart from the date, it's actually picked up all the information pretty accurately. Again, based on the country, which is further down as Australia. It's put in the currency correctly. The tax amount is good and the total is good. Yeah, so that was just a quick look at using the machine learning model extractors as part of the document understanding set of capabilities. I'll actually now hand it over to Mohit, who will go through the intelligent form extraction capabilities. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Mohit, over to you.
Thanks, Michael. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I hope that you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, looks good, Mohit.
Okay, great. Excuse me. So here you're seeing an example of intelligent form extractor. So let me just show you that what all documents I'm going to extract using this. So here I'll use this intelligent extractor. So this is the document that I'm going to process today. So this is actually a student enrollment form in university, and you can see that it's all handwritten, and this is a multi-page document. And another interesting thing is that when we are extracting this home address, we have these fields like city and suburb, which are printed, and then we have some additional text, which is handwritten. So I'm going to extract this information, and then I'm going to check that this checkbox, if it is marked or not marked. And after that, I'm also going to check that on the last page of it, if the signature is available or not. So this is what we are going to do today. Let me just go back and try and run this. So I haven't added callouts like Michael has, so bear with me. It will take a little time to process the document and we won't be seeing much on screen. I'll just open Studio meanwhile.
Yeah, please open the studio. Thanks.
Okay, so Just to explain while this is processing the document, so what I'm doing here is the first step, which is the digitized document. So I saw one of the questions in chat that how do you get the document? So this is the step from where I'm getting the document. So this document is nothing but the path, and then I'm using this Microsoft OCR to get four information. So that is DOM and everything, which Michael has already explained. And after that, we go to this data extraction scope where we are configuring the extractors. And here I'm using my intelligent form extractor. As you have seen before, that you could add your regex extractor, ML based extractor, and form based extractor all in the same extraction scope itself. And then you can configure it in a way that you can define which fields you want to extract from which of the extractors. So that is possible as well. I'll just give you a small demo of that. So now we have our form ready. So you can see that the student number has been extracted over here. And on the left-hand side, you can see the confidence as well. So here I am extracting this with 97% confidence, similar with this USI number as well. And the first name, middle name, and the date of birth. So here you can see that the date of birth is in multiple columns. So we are extracting that as well. So here I have not added this structure of date of birth, but ideally you can add a structure as well. So it will by default it will appear something like this, and also it will come in these fields like this. So if I would have defined that structure before, it would have directly come here. But now that I've made that correction, it is coming like this. And apart from this, the checkboxes, so you can see that this is a Boolean field. So it is checking that if this is checked or not. And apart from that, you see the email ID. So here you can see this at is really poorly written, but still it is able to extract this information because I defined it as email. So it in the backend, it already knows that it sort of expects at sign, and that is why it is able to extract it confidently. And again, you can see it's 96% confident in that. And then the company and company code, the address. So this is the interesting field that I was talking about. So you can see that it is extracting the home address from this field, and then it is skipping this part of city and suburb, state, country, and postcode. So that's possible as well. Apart from that, we are going to check if the signature is available. So you see here it is checking the signature, and it is 99% confident that the signature that it has seen is actually there. I'm going to save this and continue and save. And then it is just going to post this information. So this, every one of you is already aware how it works. So just for the demonstration purposes. Now, apart from this, I have seen in the chat that there is a lot of interest in having the validation station available as a task on Orchestrator. So I'm just going to show you that as well. Michael, is that okay?
Yes,
Yes,
that would be
please
great.
go for it.
That would be great. You can do that.
Okay, sure. So guys, this is how this looks like. So this is human in the loop validation station. So what I'm going to do again is I have this document which looks like this. I'm going to extract this information out of ML extractor, and then I'm going to present this in a validation station on Orchestrator. So let's see how it goes. So let me just minimize this because it's running on the previous one. So once we see UiPath running over here, should be good. I'll open the studio meanwhile. So it is running in the background. Okay, so now you see what has happened is it went through all these steps and it has already extracted the information out of the PDF file, and now it has gone to Orchestrator. So let me just go to the Orchestrator. Okay, so now you see if I go into my actions, I will have something like this. So I have an unassigned task. So you can assign this task to a particular person right from Studio itself if need be. We have activities for that, but at the moment I'm going to assign it to myself and open this. So now you have validation station right on your orchestrator. And just for the clarification, because this is available as a task in Action Center, your robot is available to do other tasks. So it's not just waiting for this document to be approved. So how you can create your solution is that you can pile up all the documents that need to be verified, and then you can process them separately, and then you can keep on extracting the information out of the documents, and whenever there is validation needed, that will be available on the orchestrator. So let's confirm these fields. So I have these fields. I was using ML extractor, so I have extracted the table data as well. So here you would see that I'm extracting this information about the quantity. This one is not extracted. Let's quickly correct this. And this one is not correct. So let me just choose this and correct it. Right? So now we say save and close, and we save it from here. So now this is already completed. So when you're actually running it in production, your unattended robot, which is waiting for these tasks to be approved, it will already take this invoice and start processing it. But because we were running it with the studio, you can see that my task has been suspended over here. And now when I resume this, it is going to perform these actions. So whatever actions I wanted to perform afterwards, it can perform it. And that's it. So our output is something like this. So you can see that it started, then it got suspended, then it started again, and then it completed in the end. So any questions, just let us know on the chat, and we will try and answer those. Michael, would you want to take that back?
So Michael and Mohit, there's a general question from so many people, and it's about do we share these sample flows that we are discussing here with the participants later on?
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
We'll probably just take out the API key and they can use their community
Yep,
one.
exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Good catch, Mike. So I'll just stop sharing that.
Smit, were there any other questions you wanted to tackle, or do you want me to just continue?
Let me see. There were a few. So and then there's this question, Michael. Can we do some part of processing with the confidence interval? So, and how do we get to the confidence interval in general within the code? So if you could just show which variable will have the confidence interval, and how can people write if commands on confidence interval, either Mohit or you, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah, Mohit, maybe you can show your studio if you can.
Hey, Mike, I also don't have ready. So just give me a couple of minutes when I create this, and then I'll start sharing and show it to you.
Okay.
Just give me a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Okay, we can. Maybe I'll finish off.
You can, yeah, you can continue. So during some other break, I'll just start sharing and show that to you.
Okay. Any other quick ones, Smit, or do you want to continue?
Yeah, how many pages can be processed per API key? Maybe Daniel or yourself can answer that.
So are we talking about, guys, the community API keys?
Yeah, let's just say in this case, community API key.
Okay, the actual quantity is measured by megapixels. Let me get the actual value. I'll let you know in 60 seconds. I'm just going to connect my orchestrator.
And for production version, because it's a paid offering, and it's like consumption based model. The more you consume, the more you got to pay. Okay, so there's no maximum limit.
So there's a 2-page limit on the community, Smit.
Thank you, Mohit.
Yeah, it's 2 pages and 4 megabytes.
Okay, and just having a look. Yeah, so can you register, do you only have to register using your organizational email ID, or Gmail is fine? I think this question is for community version. So for community version, you can subscribe using your organization's email, or Gmail for personal reasons was also fine. Okay. And one general question that it came in before was that once we have told that the validation station that the date is wrong, can I so let's just say invoice 1 has come in and I have fixed the date, and invoice 2 comes up with same sort of mistake. Do I have to correct the invoice 2, or our validation station or our machine learning model, or whatever model we are using will learn by itself that I have corrected it previously, and I'll get the correct values in future as well? So what's your take on this one?
Maybe Daniel, if you can. Daniel,
Guys, I was just responding to another question from Ivan Diaz, so I missed the question.
Okay, so Daniel, the question is, I have corrected something on validation station. Do I have to correct it again in the next invoice that I receive?
Yes, currently, yes. That automatic training feedback mechanism is not in place yet. That's part of our roadmap. So this system learns from your data validation actions, but it's in that feature is in the roadmap, not currently available yet. So yes, you will need to fix it again next time you do it currently.
Okay, yep, thanks. Michael, you can move on.
Okay, thanks, guys. So we touched upon it before, but just wanted to kind of summarize the pricing model. So when we order, when you want to order the document understanding capabilities, it's really in chunks of 16,000 pages. So you basically order units of 16,000 pages, and then you can consume it however you want to consume it. So just to go through the different components of document understanding. Digitized document, there's no costs. Keyword classifier, no costs. I put in the ABI because that's can also be used for classifying and extracting, and that's basically based on ABI pricing. Regex is no cost. The forms extractor, as mentioned before, that consumes 0.2 of a page. Intelligent forms is 1 page. Machine learning extractor is 1 page, and no cost for validation station, and some of the OCR engines are unpaid, but then the cloud ones are paid as well. So this is to give just a snapshot of the different pricing for the different components within document understanding. But as I mentioned before, we do have this very flexible architecture. So what that means is we can actually mix different extractors, and we can try a less expensive extractor first, and if we're able to achieve success, we don't need to consume any pages within my document understanding purchase. So I've tried to put an example here. So I've got an example of a structured document that doesn't have signature or handwriting. I can set up my data extraction to try and use regex first, and then maybe use a form extractor after that. So what this allows me to do is, if my regex is successful, I won't be consuming any pages. If it's unsuccessful, I will need to use a form, which will consume 0.2 of a page. For semi-structured, I can do something similar. So I can try regex first, which will not consume any pages of document understanding. If that's unsuccessful, I'll have to send it to my machine learning model to get all my fields. And then if I have, say I'm processing a combination of structured and semi-structured documents within the one workflow, then I can try regex first. If that fails, I can try forms, and if that, well, I would try forms if it's a structured document, And then I could try the ML extractor if it's a semi-structured document. So with the flexibility we have built into the architecture, customers can get a lot of value out of our pricing model. And I'll go through a couple of scenarios as well to try and highlight some of the points. So here in my example scenario, I've got an organization that has 5,000 suppliers and on average around 20,000 invoices per month. The quality of the invoices quite varied and the fonts are highly variable as well. Now, this is a bit of a guesswork, but I can estimate using regex, I can process maybe 20% of the invoices with 95% confidence. So what we're trying to demonstrate here is when you have a discussion with the customer, you don't need to take their raw page count. You can actually tell them we can reduce that page consumption with our flexible architecture. So if I look at the raw data, annual page count is 20,000. I times it by 12. I get 240,000 pages. Because it's highly variable and I'm using invoices, I need to use the ML extractor, and there's a large number of suppliers. Because I believe I can use regex for say 20%, I don't actually need to consume 240 pages with document understanding. I can kind of estimate maybe 80% of that for the machine learning extractor. So that gives me 240,000 times 0.8 is 192,000. As I mentioned before, we sell document understanding in chunks of 16,000 pages. So I divide that number by 16,000 and I'll need 12 units of document understanding for this particular scenario. Plus I'll need an OCR engine because of the highly variable and font sizes. Have a look at another scenario, so it's a bit more complex. So this organization has several lines of businesses and processes a wide variety of forms and documents. So here I have a mix of fixed forms with no handwriting, fixed forms with handwriting, invoices and receipts. And I can process some with the regex, and with the handwriting, I can't use regex. So the question is, well, if I was to put a solution together, what document understanding components would I need? So the way we'd work it out is for the 2,000 fixed forms with no handwriting, I would do 2,000 times 0.8 because I can process 20% using regex, times 0.2 because fixed forms uses 0.2 of a page. I'll need to do 1,000 times 1 times 1 for the handwriting, so I can't get any flexibility out of that. For the invoices and receipts, I'll need the total number of invoices, receipts times 0.8 because I can use regex, and then times 1 for the page consumption. So if I put that formula together, I only need 131,000 document understanding pages compared to a raw number of 180,000. So you can now have a conversation, and in the customer's eyes, they'll see this as a very flexible solution and not needing to use certain technologies if I can get away with things like regex. If I divide that by 16,000, I have 9 units of document understanding needed and an OCR engine. So quickly on the key differentiators. So we just looked at no page consumption for regex and validation station. The structured or the form extractor only uses 1/5 of a page of credit. We use a true ML approach, so we don't need to send any templates along with the document when we're trying to extract those key fields out of the ML model. We are going to provide greater capability than just invoices and receipts. So you may have some other vendors that specializes in invoices or invoices and receipts, but the way we're designing this solution is we'll be able to add more machine learning models in the future. So it expands the scope of the document processing outside different departments. And we got the handwriting and signature on forms capability as well. So I'm a bit conscious of the time, so I don't want to go through the FAQ section. Maybe Smit, if you can highlight maybe some of the key questions you've seen, we can go through that instead.
Yeah. Sure. So to everybody, yes, we will share the recording. This session is being recorded at the moment, and we will share that with you. We will share the presentation with you as well. We will share all the code that was demonstrated here with you as well as part of the package. So all the attendees who have attended this will receive that package. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Michael, I have answered quite a number of questions from different attendees asking how different, let's say, for example, in the case of invoices that have to be approved by different managers, as an example, how can we address those requirements? And what I've been explaining to people about UiPath Action Center. So maybe we could spend like 2 minutes just to explain to the audience what Action Center used for, because a lot of people are asking.
Okay. Do you want to take that up, or I don't have it set up at the moment? Or Smit, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, sure. So I don't, let me see if I can open up my,
Sorry, what's the question, Smit?
so do you have the Action Center open, and how does Action Center work, and what is Action Center, Mohit? That's the question.
Yeah. So let me just share my screen, and I had to show the confidence as well. So let me just share it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit.
Guys, can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
So first question first, for the extraction results. So what I'm doing here is I had this extraction result from this auto extraction that was data extraction scope. What I did here is I went to data extraction. So let me just do it again. I would say dot results. So results document. Then I will say dot document type field, and then I will get the confidence of this field. Okay, so that's about the confidence. And let me just go back and show you the Action Center. Okay, so guys, Action Center actually has been renamed from something which was called as tasks, if you have seen that before. So if you already know what that is, it's the same thing. For those of you, it's a new concept. Let me just give you a brief of what that is. So task basically is something like a action. So we are bringing the human into the loop of the automation, right? So what happens is, as soon as you perform some task with the help of a robot, and if your task is a long running task, so by long running, what I mean is that you require some kind of human intervention. So it might be approval that you need from the human, or maybe you want human to validate something, or so this kind of human actions we are looking for, right? So typically, if you have these kind of automations as your use case, what you would do is you would have a human either validate it at that time itself, or you would have to build two bots, one of those which will be sending the task to the human, maybe in form of an email, or maybe in form of giving them a file from where something is updated. So it's not really a human action or human, let's say, there is no onus on the human to basically do that task. So this is what we are trying to address here. So what we do over here, so let me just go back to my workflow which I showed it to you. Okay, so in this one, what I was doing, I had this extraction, right? So I created this workflow. I'm extracting some information out of the document, and then I had this task created for the human. Because what I want is, I want my robot to keep doing the task of extraction, and then I'm waiting for human input, but not for this particular document. So this robot is basically keeping on creating the actions for human, and of course, whenever required, and then the task appear over here. So now human can take his own sweet time. He can come back like even 2 days afterwards, and then the robot will start right from here, right? So now you see the value, because earlier, if you were doing the same thing, you would have to keep polling for human decision if human has taken action or not. But now you will have human take his action in his own time, and during that time, the license of robot on which it was running, it is basically free to perform other tasks. So this is what we are trying to address. And also another thing is that when you are creating an action for a human, you can do that in form of a UiPath form. So if I show you how it looks like, is you can define your own forms, right? So the one that I did was approval for quotation. So you can see you can design your own forms, and you can also mark that what all fields you want to be edited by human and what all fields you want to be as a read-only field. So you can do a lot of customizations. You can just create these forms as drag and drop. So Mike and Smith, do you want me to like show in very brief how forms look like? Or
No, so thank you, Mohit, for that. So everybody, there is a training on 7th May just on the Action Center piece. So stay tuned, and we will go through all of this, how this works when Action Centers are involved. Okay, so yeah, just wait until 7th of May, and we'll go through the Action Center session as well. Thank you, Mohit, again.
sure. So I'll just stop sharing then.
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we got 5 more minutes, Smith and Daniel. Is there any key questions you think that we should answer live, or anything that stands out? Or like something very common that was asked by a lot of people?
I've seen a few questions about validation station, but I think that's going to be covered on the 7th of May. We can probably spend like 20 seconds just to say something. We have just recently announced in our forums, it's in preview mode yet, the capability to use the validation station within UiPath Action Center. We're not covering that today, but I'm not sure if we're planning on showing that on the 7th. Are we, Smith?
Yes, we will.
Okay, so good. That will be really, so I highly recommend everybody here to watch that one, because using validation station within Action Center is a big boost to our capabilities.
Yep. Thank you. And Koom, do you have any general theme of questions? I know you have answered quite a lot of questions as well. Do you have any general theme that you want to touch upon and answer anything live?
No, not really. I think it's been covered pretty well by the rest. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Koom.
So Smith, there is one open question. So probably let's take that live itself. So for other audience to listen to that as well. So the question is, once the human correct the data, can that not be processed automatically, that is unattended, without going to orchestrator? So if you are willing to have the robot directly on your system itself, so if you are having the task, so if you don't want to use the human in the loop functionality, then you can just validate the data onto the robot machine itself and then start processing it. And if you want to use orchestrator functionality, then we feel that the more value would be that once the human has validated the data, then robot basically automatically picks it up and then starts processing it. So you see the variations, right? So if you have a attended robot, then definitely you can do it real time. And if you are willing to wait for human input for some time, then you can do it in unattended fashion as well.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mohit. Probably one last comment I'll make is, so people were asking for the automations. We'll give you the instructions to develop one of the automations, which was that machine learning extractor, but the intelligent form processing, we can provide that one. And then we can review next week if there are any questions or people had difficulty while trying to set up document understanding on their system. But I'll probably close it there, Alex, and hand it back to you.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Smith, Mike, Daniel, Mohit, Kamyong. You guys have done a fantastic job. I think you can see the feedback coming from the team as well. And I wanted to also thank all the partners for spending these 1.5 hours to join our session today. So we clearly have a lot more lined up for you for the next 4 weeks, right? So yeah, if you haven't registered for the other sessions, I encourage you to please go ahead and do that. And again, I will request for all of you who have attended, register with your personal email. Appreciate if you can let me know your company email so that we can ensure that we are able to send you the materials on time. Okay, so yeah, that's all I have. Anything else, Smith, Mike, to close it?
All good.
Just thanks to everyone for joining today.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks everyone. Stay safe and have a good day.
Thank you.
We'll close the session now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.